In May 1944, during one of World War II's bloodiest battles, a British officer watched in absolute horror as a 200-pound bear carried boxes of artillery shells to the front lines. The bear had a serial number, a rank, and a paycheck. This is the story of Corporal Wojtek, but this Corporal Wojtek, and the men who refused to leave him behind. Here's what you need to understand. In April 1942, thousands of Polish soldiers were evacuating through the Iranian mountains. These weren't ordinary troops. They were survivors. Men who'd been ripped from their families, thrown into Soviet prison camps, and somehow lived to tell about it. They had almost nothing. They were starving, exhausted, and marching towards a war that had already destroyed their country. And then, they found a bear cub. A local boy was carrying it in a burlap sack. Its mother had been shot by hunters. Now think about what you would do in this situation. You're barely surviving. Every piece of food, every tool could save your life. These soldiers looked at the orphan cub and traded a Swiss Army knife, canned beef, and chocolate. Luxuries they'd probably only dreamed of in the Gulag. But here's the thing. It wasn't just one soldier who made the call. It was encouraged by an 18-year-old refugee girl named Irina, and then approved by their lieutenant. They fed the little cub condensed milk from a vodka bottle with a cloth teat for months. Why? Why would men who'd lost everything sacrifice what little they had for a bear? Because they wanted something to protect. Something that depended on them, something that reminded them that they were still human. Fast forward to 1944. The Polish unit, now called the 22nd Artillery Supply Company, is ordered to ship out to Italy to join the fight. But there's a problem. British transport regulations strictly forbid wild animals on military vessels. The soldiers had a choice: follow orders and abandon Wojtek, or do what soldiers do best and find another way. They did what soldiers do best. They officially enlisted him, gave him a serial number, a paycheck, made him Private Wojtek with the stroke of a pen. This wasn't a joke or a publicity stunt. This was career officers falsifying military documents, risking disciplinary action because this bear mattered more than regulations. Think about that. These men had already lost their homeland. They were about to face one of the war's most brutal battles, and they wouldn't do it without their bear. May 18th, 1944, Monte Cristo, Italy. The monastery on that mountain had already chewed up 3 Allied assaults. The Polish Second Corps was sent to take it, and Wojtek went with them. During the battle, in the chaos of the artillery fire and screaming and death, soldiers watched as Wojtek carried 100-pound crates of ammunition, boxes that normally took 4 men to lift, from the supply trucks to the gun positions. Hour after hour, shell after shell. Their lieutenant filed an official report documenting it. The company was so moved by what they witnessed, they permanently changed their unit insignia to show a bear carrying artillery shells. And on top of that, Wojtek was promoted to corporal. He definitely earned it. And then here's where the story takes a turn. The war ended, the Allies won, but Poland was handed to Stalin, the same Stalin who'd imprisoned these soldiers in the first place. The men of the Polish Second Corps couldn't go home, and so they were exiled to Scotland. And in 1947, because you can't keep a 500-pound bear in a civilian apartment, they brought Wojtek to Edinburgh Zoo. For the next 16 years, Polish veterans would visit him regularly. And here's what's hard to hear. Whenever Wojtek would hear Polish being spoken, he would stand up and salute, the way his comrades had taught him during the war. He remembered, even years later, locked in a pen in a foreign country. He remembered his brothers, just like they remembered him. Wojtek died in 1963, weighing nearly 1,100 pounds. Today there's a statue of him in Krakow, Edinburgh, and London. But his real legacy aren't the statues. It's what he represented, that even in humanity's darkest hour, when everything had been taken from them, a group of soldiers chose compassion over survival, connection over orders, love over logic. They weren't just saving a bear, they were saving their humanity. And that's the story of Corporal Wojtek, the soldier who wasn't human. Thank you very much for watching. If you like this kind of content, go ahead and leave a like, maybe even subscribe. I'm Neilbert, and we've been Unimpressed.
There's a little gap with the YouTube channel. There's a little gap with the YouTube channel.